On this Andy's Autosport Frequently Asked Questions, we're going to talk about the difference between shocks and struts. Now, every vehicle out there rides on some sort of a spring, whether it be a torsion bar, a coil spring, or a leaf spring. And what the shock and strut does is it dampens the motion of that spring. To get more specific, we've got our Project Transfat and Project Mini Cooper here to show you the difference. All right, now our Project Mini Cooper uses a strut-style suspension. Now, this actually bolts onto the lower control arm and actually rotates as the tires turn. So what happens is you have a coil spring assembly that sits on top. There's a pillow ball mount or a caster camber plate if you have a performance suspension that bolts on the top and holds the coil spring in place. Then it actually bolts up into the chassis, and again, this part bolts to the bottom of the control arm, and this is how it controls the damping of the suspension. Now for our Project Transfat, it has an upper and a lower control arm, and the spring actually sits in a pocket in the lower control arm, and then in another pocket, the top half of the spring sits in the frame. The shock then goes between the lower control arm and the frame assembly, and this is what controls the damping of the spring on Project Transfat. Now, don't be confused when you go to the website and you see shocks and struts in the same place. Some vehicles have struts on the front and shocks on the back, and at Andy's, we have them both in the same category. So as you can see, they both accomplish the same thing, just in different ways. They control the spring that the car is riding on. We hope we fueled your knowledge today, and we'll see you on another episode of Andy's Frequently Asked Questions.